Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Ali, CEO and co-founder of Knowde, the leading digital customer experience platform for chemicals. Our goal with the series, as you know, is to share the perspectives you need to navigate the changing landscape of digital in our industry. We have yet another amazing guest with us today, someone that I'm sure many of you already know. So let's jump right in. I'm thrilled to welcome Ilham Kadri, CEO of Syensqo. Prior to, she was the CEO of Solvay. For those that may not know, Syensqo is now a standalone company after completing the spinoff, and yet is still one of the largest specialty companies in the world. Syensqo is committed to technologies that advance humanity while protecting the planet. They have a global team of experts focused on key platforms such as battery materials, green hydrogen, thermoplastic composites, and renewable materials and biotech. Ilham, anything I missed about the company and your background that you want to share with others before we get started?
Oh, thank you, Ali, for having me. It's a great pleasure to be part of your, interviewees. And I looked at your podcast, and thank you for what you are doing for the industry. And Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year to you. One thing that our audience loves to learn about our guests is, what got you into this industry? I mean, what brought you here? What keeps you excited about this space?
It all started with the youth, I think it's my passion for science, for sciences. Since I'm very little, Ali, I was fond of science. I grew up in Casablanca, in Morocco, in a very humble home. We didn't have potable water, right? It was the scarcest resources we have. We didn't have a luxury to waste. So circularity was part of our daily agenda and not a choice, and they were frequent power cuts, right, in my districts, right? So my grandma, who was my first role model, and who was a cleaner, by the way, illiterate, raised me by herself, and she gave me the most precious tool to succeed is the unconditional love. And she used to say to girls, what she was told when she was a girl, that girls have two exits in their lives, one to the husband's house and the other one to the grave. And she invited me to find my third exit, or my door, and education changed my life, right? And that third exit my grandma asked me to find was education and sciences in general. And I got passionate about science very early on, and this has followed me throughout my career. Thanks to Moroccan French scholarships, I could pursue my higher education and my passion for science in France, where I became eventually a chemist. But I started with everything: mathematics, physics, and chemistry. And I often say to my mentees that the journey is more important than the destination. My journey brought me around the world in 4 different continents, from Africa to Middle East, to Asia, to the US, and Europe, where I'm sitting today. And I worked for multinational companies in different roles, right? Sales, marketing, etc., digital world, etc. And I realized that when you go to the industrial world and the chemical industry specifically, you can live different lives. You can combine all sciences, right? And my first CEO role was in the US for Diversity, Hygiene and Cleaning Company, where I could play tribute to my grandma, by the way, who was a cleaner. And 5 years ago, I joined Solvay, as you mentioned, in Belgium. And we worked on a massive transformation, a lifetime transformation, which culminated into the split into 2 different entities, December 9th, right? So a month ago, right? So it's the first month anniversary. And Syensqo now is built on this 160-year legacy of Solvay company. And I have the honor now to bring this new science company to new heights. Back to you.
I'm not sure how much of your backstory that you've shared publicly, but it's a story that needs to be told. It's incredibly sweet, and maybe, hopefully soon, some more of that story will be told by you. Okay, let's talk digital. We're seeing a lot of change in the industry. I think more change now in the past 2-3 years post-pandemic than we probably saw in the 15 years prior to that. I think suppliers are definitely increasing their investments in their digital capabilities, especially those that are customer facing. From your perspective, what do you see as some of the opportunities within Syensqo when it comes to digital, and do you have any key digital initiatives kicking off soon?
Yeah, and let me start first by the industry. Obviously, there are industries which are more advanced than others, right? Like life science, for example, right? Then the chemical-related industries, and I think in your podcast you've been interviewing, some of the leaders or proof concepts, makers, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I see different pockets of, AI or acceleration, of AI into our own industry. You can see it from the material discovery, innovation, optimization, right? And AI can be used in improving products performance. Sustainability is important, as you know, Ali, is dear to my heart. So while in my older times, when I started as a chemist in the lab, I was asked to do, life cycle analysis and sustainability circularity when it was not embedded in the molecule design. Now, the chemists are asked to build it by design, right? So AI and this material reinvention will bring a lot of, acceleration, right? Optimization of the properties of the material for specific application, which can lead to safer and more environmentally friendly products and compounds. The second area I see, Ali, is the new application discoveries, right? Is discoveries for new application with existing products or fine-tuned products.
Yep.
And I think this approach, and can be even a low-hanging fruit, to be honest with you, this approach has resulted in a tenfold increase in the volume of unique, dictionaries for product, 3 times more efficient extraction of new application, and double the number of new application discovered. So I believe that this is an area which gonna go so faster. Number 3 is, and I think in one of your podcasts you touch base on to, is the predictive maintenance and supply chain optimization, right? And obviously Gen AI will contribute to reduce downtime or efficient logistics and addressing industry's demand for novel, raw material sourcing and eco-friendly practices in cost-efficient methods. So I'm not going to go there. So, and the fourth one, before my last one, is all the research and development, right? And Gen AI will significantly accelerate the R&D process, reducing timeline costs, avoiding failures. I mean, in my times, I would do 100 experiments and maybe reject 80 and then do the 20 and then open another box, right? And here Gen AI will make us smarter, and maybe I can avoid doing 50 out of my 100 immediately, right? So it will enable more rapid discovery of new molecules and material. And I think if I were younger in the lab at the bench, Gen AI will be part of my munition tool, right? And then the last one, which I think it's important from our strategy as Syensqo, is compliance and contracts analysis. So Gen AI can aid in parsing through compliance issues in contracts with significant less effort, enhancing legal and operational efficiency, do better in procuring rights efficiently. So and so you see a large horizon for the chemical industry and the specialty material industry, right, to go through. I think, frankly, I believe that many companies in my space are still in the proof of concept period, yet need to engage into consistent deployments. So what we are doing at Syensqo, and we just launched Syensqo on December 11th, so we are entering into a new era of this type of how can digitalization support us. We're not a digital company, we will never be, right? We will be using that to accelerate our strategy, to accelerate the customer obsession criteria we set for ourselves. So we are doing a bit of all of this. And the biggest opportunity is to mine data with various type of AI and to help us develop more and better solutions to solve the pressing needs of our customers and even their unmet needs. In this context, we are seizing the opportunity of our massive amount of data. Frankly, I mean, it's wasted. I truly believe it. You have to do more with it. You are to make us more intelligent while making decisions. and using the data to gain insights on our customers' technology trends, anticipate their needs, working on enhancing that with AI co-piloting capabilities to boost data-driven sales, for example. An example is our carbon footprint information for our products, making it available for our customers, right? To make the right sustainability decision and reduce their carbon footprints, because we are their scope 3, and I need it from my suppliers. So we engage with 450 suppliers to make it digital and have trustability along the value chain. And I can go on and on with several examples, but these examples will stay anecdotes in my language, in my playbook, till it comes mainstream. And that's what we will be accelerating at Syensqo, is to make those good anecdotes, which we see as a proof of concepts, and accelerate them to make an impact inside our organization and outside. Back to you.
I mean, all 5 of those opportunities that you mentioned are massive. The second one in particular, even though you mentioned it as a low-hanging fruit, I think can be just as big as the other 4. As you know, so much of this industry's knowledge is locked in PDF documents and presentations and brochures and all these various documents that are distributed throughout the org. And that knowledge isn't sort of like centralized and used effectively across the whole, go-to-market organization. And that is one that we see as such a powerful, unlock for growth, because, you've got all the scientists and experts in these orgs. They're writing these papers on the suitability of these products and all these various applications, but then that knowledge doesn't get to the right people, whether it's the sales reps or the customers. And so it just sits there idle. And like, it's just such a big opportunity to sort of bring existing products, but new applications, new thoughts and ideas to customers.
Absolutely, Ali. And I think you say this, I think we have the opportunity today to tap on the trough of this historical data set that exists, and the daily data we are generating and are sitting in Google Drive, in PDF, in Word documents, Excel, and file service extracted from the many decades, even of old equipment. I mean, the equipments we are running, we are digitalizing our manufacturing assets, right? And digitalizing means, I mean, it's an old age even for people like you. We're putting sensors, connecting the equipment with the blue collar or the white collar, getting the data, preventive maintenance. I mean, all of this. I did it with Diversi already when I was doing these robotic, robot cleaners, right? So just make the basics right. And we still need to develop a profound evolution of the way we handle data and get accuracy in the data, precision, right, in the data, with a structured approach is a foundational step to support any company ambition, but definitely Syensqo, who I believe, I mean, it's a pure play, it's a science company like its name carries, and we want to be at the service of customer unmet needs. And you mentioned lightweight and electrification, digitalization, and consumerism or green hydrogen. We don't have time to waste, and I think there is an opportunity to win and to thrive and to be the first one, while using all these data at your service to actually accelerate and not reinvent the wheel. So yeah, I'm with you. I call it low-hanging fruit. Is it complicated to do, specifically in established organization, because there is a resistance to change, and sometimes those tools are seen by but some people like, it's hype, it's techie at the end of the day, and there is a syndrome: if I don't do it myself and I don't invent it myself, it's not good enough. Where you should see your Gen AI and all these GPT things as a tool, as like I'm using my equipment. Is just a tool to allow you to go further, faster, and avoid mistakes. I'm with you.
The mindsets, I think, are starting to change, though. I agree that like most folks are kind of like, we have to build it here type mentality. But this is a completely different capability, a completely different skill set. And you got to leverage kind of what's available. Are you thinking about your digital initiatives differently at Syensqo than you were at Solvay?
Oh yeah, So I mean, I was leading Solvay with now the two legs we separated. One is more of a commodity, type of technologies, right? Simple one technology in one pot, in one asset, which are necessary, like soda ash for glazing, or silica for your tires, or hydrogen peroxide for your disinfection. And in a way, they need to run with simplification, standardization at heart, delivering very efficiently large SKUs to customers, right? Yeah. They will have their digitalization efforts to bring that simplification and standardization, right? And there's still a lot of complexity. While Syensqo is, as you said, at the service of all these sustainability and met needs, from lightweight, electrification, etc. Customers are ready to pay for complexity. They are keen to bring differentiation in our products and specialties. So, but you need to manage that complexity really well. You have multiple technologies in one pot. You have customers who are buying small grams to, large tons of products, right? So you need to manage this complexity efficiently, right? Yeah. While we have vitality index is the number of products you sell in the past 5 years, which are new, protected by patents. So to give you an idea, 50% of our company sales are protected by IP or long-term contracts, and 20%, is vitality index, which means that our products which were born less than 5 years ago. So you need to manage all of this. So yeah, Syensqo will be investing in more of Gen and I, capabilities, be it in research and innovation, from an electronic notebook to having, now we have a digital and robots chemistry assistants in China. I launched it back in September when I visited China since COVID times, and it was crazy because our chemists now, they have robots as the chemical assistants following them. I was, as a chemist, I was like, it's mind blowing, right? So the assistant is doing everything which you can delegate to your assistant, right? To the robot, which you don't need to do, and make your time more efficient. Have the time to think, to reflect, right? To go back to what the Nobel Prizes, they always say, we don't have time to reflect, just lying and thinking about, hallucinating about new ways of discovering materials. So I think it's going to revolutionize the research and innovation.
Oh, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time.
A matter of time, and it's happening. Supply chain, I'm not going to cover that because I think you had a nice podcast on this. Finance and data, management, all of this is also new ways of doing it. And our relationship with our clients, I think it goes from ERP to ERP and the old stuff, just knowing what's in the inventory. Each time we are talking to investors every quarter, the big question is destocking. What's in the inventory? Nobody knows across the value chain, because we are serving most of the industries, from automobile to aerospace to home and personal care. And sometimes it's 3-4 players down the road before it gets to the consumers. And nobody knows what's in there in the value chain. So I think it's important in very volatile markets now, and with short-termism of the quarter, because we are a publicly traded company, you need to have that visibility from our suppliers to our customers. So I think that's transparency, helping our customers to buy better, to buy on time. Sustainability, the digitalization of our plants and the carbon footprint is very close to my heart, because we declared carbon neutrality. Without digitalization, we're not going to get carbon neutrality. So you need transparency. So those are areas where we're focusing our effort now on investing in digitalization and AI.
That brings up another point, and it's actually my favorite topic to discuss, which is that, as a leader, you're always trying to balance, short-term sort of quarterly expectations from shareholders and others versus, what is right for the business long-term, that does cost a lot of capital and time and pulls resources away from their kind of day-to-day duties. How do you, try to balance, short-term expectations versus, long-term investments?
Yeah, it's the billion dollar question. I think I call it, and now it's public language from my interviews, is that you need to have both. You need to have an eye on the microscope and an eye on the telescope.
Yeah.
And obviously you need to deliver today. You need to be performing on the quarter, on the year, because without a quarter and a year, there is no midterm and long term for a publicly traded company. So you're right, Ali, is a tough balance to find. In each company needs to find its own way, right? Obviously, affordability is always there. I mean, my role and my management team, my executive committee is about allocating the available resources, which are not unlimited, to the best opportunities available to the company. So each day, I am making these judgments with my leadership team. That's one of the reasons of our existence. So I think it's about the belief top down that this is the right investment that creates value, and you need to challenge yourself, because there is always this syndromite hype, Katis, when we say, tighten the belt, there is a crisis like COVID, or if there is an inflationary environment, or there is a tough year, people start looking where to cut costs. And this is one of those where people start cutting. So at Syensqo, and obviously now separating from Solvay and being a pure player, we are that science company. I mean, the name carries it, and an innovation company. And we're actually increasing our spend in research and innovation. We went from the 3%, which we used to have, against peers, which were around 2.8% to now 5%, which I already mentioned in one of my capital market days back in November before the split. And even in the slowdown, and when I say research and innovation, digital and Gen AI is part of it. So yeah, I think you're right, but I believe in the power of the end. I made this even a podcast. I am a podcaster as well. And you need to work on those long-term investments. And it should not be in conflict with reaping short-term value in the digital space. On the contrary, it's about building agility in your delivery. It's about cutting the weight by making the invisible visible, to be able to deal with all the variances around us. And I think it's about the choices. I'm not a digital native, obviously, so you need to have that team around you, the digital natives, to build that new innovation pipeline and make your priorities inside this. You cannot do it overnight. And I think it's essential to build a close interaction between business and those digital, more than IT, digital Gen AI team, to determine the value proposition and which one are going to impact really the customers. At the end of the day, I am a customer obsessed.
Yeah.
What science is about.
I mean, that last thing you said, I think, is probably the most important takeaway for our audience, which is that there needs to be a marriage between the business and these digital folks. Like, the business needs to clearly communicate the use cases and the problem statements that need to get solved. And then the digital folks need to roam outside of the organization to go find different types of ways to solve them. A lot of times what we see is that these digital orgs are kind of separate and distinct from the business, and they're out trying to solve problems that don't need to be solved, and thus the business doesn't take them seriously. And it's kind of needs to be business led and says, look, this is the problem we're trying to solve, and we can't continue to solve it the same way we always have. And so, digital team, what ideas do you have?
Absolutely, Ali. And if it's not, it's like sustainability, it used to be a headquartered tent, right? And with sustainability teams, well, at Solvay, we were very successful with Solvay One Planet over 5 years, because I made it part of the sustainability, the strategies of the business unit. So my presidents were hit in their pocket, in their compensation, like mine, on sustainability. The same for digitalization or for Gen AI. And you need to embed it. It needs to be at the service of the strategies and part of the strategies. I don't like to talk about sustainability strategy. I call it a roadmap. And here the same, we call it, Gen AI, type of roadmap. You cannot talk about strategy centrally. It has to be part of your business strategy.
Totally agree. Last thing, any words of encouragement or message you want to relay to folks at your company that are working on, any sort of digital initiatives or transformation initiatives?
Well, listen, I've been, 30 years around, on on the road, looking at the chemical industry and all industries we serve. The chemical industry is the mother of all industries in a way. I've seen it transforming, right? Baby steps, and now I believe that never have we seen the convergence of various mega trends. You name them: electrification, EVs. Look at the transformation of the Tesla, syndrome in automobile. The hydrogen and the green or the blue and the soup of alphabet of colors, which gonna revolutionize probably and be one of the energy mix in the future. Light weighing, biotechnologies, right? And never we've seen the convergence of those mega trends with the incredible leaps in technology, like AI or Gen AI or potentially future AGI, or and all of this coming together at the same time, Ali, right? I mean, it's massive. It's really massive, and I believe this will create massive opportunities as well as threats. And don't put me wrong. I mean, everybody's looking at cyber, and we double down on doing the right thing and investing. But I see the glass half full because I'm human, it's a scientific, and I'm optimist by design. So I see it as creating massive opportunities. And I think my only advice is think big. Think, dream big. You need to have dreams which are scary and bigger than you, and take the bull by the horns, right? Really, rather than, I'm not a digital native, so I'm reverse mentoring myself, and I'm, this team is they are my babies almost, but it's great because they can tell me things I don't see, but I can use it as a wisdom to impact the strategies and the future of Syensqo company, right? So the digital transformation is just not the task of one team. That's what we discussed, but the entire company. We are all in this together as a digital people, and more should be woven in the fabric of the organization. Better it is, and better it is for our customers. So it's an exciting and essential part of the journey. And whilst the technology seems to be at the heart, it's still about the people. We start talking about the mindset when we kicked in. People need to make it happen, need to shift from no, we can't do, or it's too expensive, to I need to relearn. Yeah, I learn and relearn. It's a new space, and our people are truly at the heart of this transformation.
I can't agree with you more. And this is certainly the mother of all industries. And so even though we're kind of, behind others, little changes in our industry has dramatic impacts across the rest of the world. And so, thinking big is, an absolute must. Ilham, thank you so much for your time. Everyone loves these sort of short, informal conversations, especially with folks like you that are helping shape the industry. You gave a very in-depth, thoughtful answers to each of these questions, which our audience certainly appreciates, and it sheds light on how important this topic is for you, even though you consider yourself non-native. You know more than you give yourself credit for. So thank you for helping move this industry forward, and I can't wait to see where Syensqo goes next.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ali, for having me. Really enjoyed the conversation, and best wishes for
Thank you. Happy New Year, Ilham.
Happy New Year. All the best.